Welcome everybody to the Brokering Racing League. This is the GT3 Championship, Season 8, Round 3 here at the Nordschleife. And we got an extended qualifying time so that everyone can hopefully set a valid lap for their first attempt. We're coming to the end of free practice here, as we'll get onto qualifying in just under 5 minutes. Well, right now we're just looking at Jacob Simmons, who has a best time of a 6-minute 40-second .790 as his fastest lap. He is sitting in P7 in free practice. It's a little bit behind the curve. He's about 3.7 seconds gap to P1. I'll take a look here. So you can see Trey Mistak is our pole sitter in free practice with a 6-minute or 6:37.067. You can see that's pretty impressive. Behind him is Matt Shack, who's just behind by 1/10, and then Patrick Gannon also behind about half a second off of Trey Mistak's time. And Peter Flanner, David Flanagan, Justin Scott, Jacob Simmons, as I said, Joshua Grasso, Andrew Korostecki, Elliott Burton, and P10 rounding that out. Is Elliott Burton rounding out the top 10 with a 6:45.5. There's a huge margin for the grid here at the Nordschleife. This is going to be a race that is won by keeping it clean. There's going to be so many incidents. Unintended or intended. As Jacob Simmons goes across the line, he goes a little bit faster. He overtakes Justin Scott for that P6 position there. Just 5 minutes remaining before qualifying starts. And I'll just keep this up. From, Elliott Burton goes down one position, and Eric Mack comes in at the P10 spot. The grid separated quite heavily. We got Jeff Koffhold just behind in P12, Eric Rodriguez in 13, Eric Koonsman in 14, Garrett Augustin in 15, Dylan Maroney in 16, Kyle Howe in 17, Tyler Kern in 18, Gary Sack the third in 19, with over 20 drivers, or 10 drivers that have not set a time. We got Eddie Layton, Noah Hodgkinson, Parker Humes, Nicholas Mazza, Rodrigo Theory, Bryce Bomback, Austin McGill, Cooper McCoy, Chris Stewart, and Steve McAllister, and Nick Blair have not set a time on the board. It looks like Noah Hodgkinson is one of those drivers that might actually set a time if this is not, it's not his outlap. So maybe we'll see what comes of his position here. As he's at the top of the hill, gonna find himself towards the long straight momentarily. As it stands, he's predicted to do a 6:41, which would put him in the top 10 if he was able to keep this together and stay within track limits. Maybe he wasn't at the top of the hill. It's been a while since I've been to the Nordschleife. I haven't seen any carousels. It's usually the indicator. It's not a. I've seen the second one at least. Oh, it's Gary Sack the third comes in at P20, puts a time on the board, and we're still in practice, but even being able to get a time on the board means you're in within track limits and you're actually going to get comfortable moving into qualifying, because there's 140 something turns. I want to say it's 145, but I might be mistaken. It is 154. I'm dyslexic, folks. I was close, though. This is a long track. It's a big track, and this is going to be a very interesting race. Who are the drivers that are going to stay close together? I have a few favorites that I'm already going to be thinking about, but see what you guys think as this race is going to start soon, or qualifying is going to start soon. Andrew Korsecki goes to P9 in practice. Andrew Korsecki has exceeded the penalty point system, so he will not be able to join us in qualifying. And his race is definitely going to be about making up positions through the field and trying to cement himself a best possible result, having to just fight from the back of the grid. One thing possibly he can hope for is that if other drivers don't set a time, it's going to go with the session as it's standing in the entries list. And so if we look at the entries list, Andrew Korsecki, 45, that's just the driver number, but it's going to kind of shuffle these up for the people that didn't set a time. I'm not actually sure how that would work, because in the official sessions, it goes by kind of like the I rating, but if all these drivers don't set times, we're just going to shuffle them up in the grid. He can hope for that, because he doesn't set a time, that there's other drivers that don't set a time, and he gets ahead of them on whatever way they're going to sort the people that didn't set a time. I usually assume that was I rating, but and position within the server itself. Usually how that works. And with 16 seconds to go, we're about to start qualifying. Noah, however, has still not completed his lap. I'm not sure if it's going to auto set them to the next thing. We'll see here. Time remaining has ended. And we're just going to go straight into it, as this time remaining is going to switch over to qualifying. Yep, it does. Cool. And we're in. Noah did not set a time, but he was still on to do a 6:45, which would have put him still just right outside of the top 10. I think a lot of these drivers are going to have to worry about where they find themselves on track. Looks like Trey Mistak has gone out first, just Scott just behind in the blue BMW. And in the third position, that's Elliot Burton. Let's see where he's at. In the black and pink silver. Got a lot of things going on with that Porsche. And Matt Shack, who finished P2 in the standings in free practice. And then with this type of qualifying, I don't even think you really need to give anyone room. The track is pretty long. The only thing I can think of not giving enough room would be if a driver ahead of you bins it. That might offset you. Maybe you get hit in the ensuing carnage that follows a driver who's off track, or you have to lift because you're not sure where they're at. But we will go back to our pole favorite here, Trey Mistak, who is in the McLaren MP4. And see if he can convert a win or convert to pole. He did in practice. See if he's able to accomplish that. And a solid 6 minutes and roughly 45 seconds for any the drivers to get across this track. It will take a while before we get through the outlaps and into the Spice. That is a first lapped attempt. This is an extra long qualifying session, so everyone has an opportunity to complete a couple laps. I'd be curious to see like what kind of fuel loads people are running. If they're just going to try to go for a one-shot run, bring it back in, top it off, go back out. But I don't think that's going to be really an ideal strategy for this track in particular. Very long track, 22 kilometers, 154 turns. For any one of these drivers to manage to remember all these turns and perform successfully in attacking the apexes of these corners is truly astounding. As you can see in the background, Justin and Elliot Burton are kind of glued together, which might be a strategy. Follow your competitor into their first hot lap. Hope they don't make a mistake. Stay in the draft. And really just get an extra bit of a comfort, like just time on the board. You're gonna save yourself that by staying in the draft. Drivers that don't have that, you know, they'll suffer. As we are through the carousel. First one of two. You can see one driver has just opted to go out now on the track. They're at the bottom of the track map, as you can see, that those drivers that are out there. We're just crawling up the hill. And we've been here before, so this should be a very interesting race. I remember last time there's two drivers that really never lost sight of each other. Within 3/10, glued together, never pulled away one, never really dipped back. Complete class, and just driver respect. That was one of the highlights of that race, as well as the start of the race. Boy, was there some carnage at the start of the race. Hopefully there isn't this go-around. Really, what you heard in the background is someone might possibly binning it into one of the barriers there. But it wasn't one of these drivers. I'm hearing it again. That's odd. That's the second carousel. We are about underway for these drivers to cross the start straight finish while they have to contend with the longest straightaway. It has a very interesting camera view. It's more like a scenic view to look at the drivers through this camera. Frame stack goes through. And none of these drivers are really giving a lot of space there in the background. That's going to be really interesting. You see two drivers are going side by side, fighting for position. And let's hope Trey Mistek is got his lucky right foot ready to go as he's going into the first corner into this 154 corner track here at the Nordschleife. Qualifying has been extended. We're on board with the driver who set the fastest time in practice with the 6-minute 37-second .4, I believe. Might be completely up. No, it was .064, 67. Semantics, but he was quick. Matt Shack was just behind him by 1/10. It'll be interesting to see where the prediction is stating so far. He's going to lose a little bit of time in what arguably can be considered Sector 2. It's just a lot more technical as you're climbing up the mountain. Okay. Just making sure something's working here. Back to Trey Mistek, who's on his first flyer lap. I would really heed caution in some of these drivers to not really push as flat out as you possibly can. Really just get a banker lap in, because even a decent lap is way better than starting at the back of the grid, especially if you don't convert your first time lap valid, because I'm of the argument that, especially at a track like this, a banker, something that isn't your fastest, should just be noted. Put it on the board. It's better to start P5 than not at all, especially if you attack both laps and they both are invalid. But we'll see. It doesn't also tell me if any of the drivers invalidate their laps. That'd be an interesting thing that they add to the race control. But for the moment, this is what we're left with. Guessing. So far, no one's been off track. Like fully off track. Doesn't not track limits per se, but all four wheels off the track. No one's binned it or crashed or had an incident. So I think everyone is treating qualifying with some due respect, because you really don't want to make a mistake, especially when you have so few laps to complete a lap here. And as it stands, Trey Mistek is predicted to do a 6:35.6. His fastest lap in practice was a 6:37. So I'm sure there's a part of this track that he finds a little bit more technical, and he's going to lose that bit as he goes to, I think it's the second carousel here. I can tell. And back on board with him and get his perspective on some of these corners, what his movement looks like through the wheel. Really aggressive through that last apex. Oh, that sounds probably just bottoming out a little bit. That might be... But it also sounds similar to like when a car kind of skids against the side of the guardrail. And he's showing a lot of confidence. Some of these fast, windy bits. And even if you could remember all the names of all these corners, I think I could only really remember one, and it's that it's the German word for... Oh, that was the first... So through the second carousel he goes. It's a German word for like Liftoff. I can't even remember to pronounce it, but that's where that driver in the Nissan GT3 completely flew up and over and into the stands in real life during a Nürburgring 24-hour race. It's truly horrifying footage of that. And they made that into a movie. The driver, it was a sim racer who got a contest and was able to live out his dream as a real race car driver. And Trey Mistak, still looking strong on that 6:37 timed lap, which would put him into P1, unless Matt Shack can take him off the podium there. P1. He's the first driver across, and Matt Shack has done so. And Matt Shack has gone into the pit lane. He's not going to set another time. Matt Shack with a 6:37.6. Trey Mistak ended up doing a 6:38.1. Jacob Simmons is behind with a 6:38. And actually, where is Patrick Gannon? It's on an outlap. Oh, so he's going to have to... That's going to be difficult for him. We have David Flanagan, who's on a hot lap. We'll see where he picks up a place. He was pretty quick. He was in the top 5 in practice. We'll see where he ends up. Jacob Simmons is in P3, still not been dethroned just yet. Peter Flander in P4. Noah Hoskinson in P5 with a 6-minute 40.4. Justin Scott, who was in that blue BMW behind Trey Mistak. How's it going, TB and R Cars Gaming? We are in qualifying. A couple laps to go. Some of the drivers have already crossed the line. 9 drivers. Justin Scott, who is behind Trey Mistak, is in P6, and Jeff Koffold is in P7. Eric Rodriguez in P8. Kyle Howe in P9. There's going to be a wide range of times we're going to see on the grid here. Chris Stewart crosses the line and does a 6-minute 43-second lap. And Garrett Augustin, he is on his he's on his first time lap, but he is further back than David Flanagan. David Flanagan, who should show us a pretty positive result. He was in the top 5 for practice. Gonna see if he can convert that again. His predicted lap is a 6:37.3 as he's rounding the final corners. If this is true, he could be P1. Ooh, it looks like he hits the barrier there. He crosses the line and he takes P1. David Flanagan across the line with his... Ooh. And he comes to an abrupt stop there. We'll switch over to Garrett Augustin. David Flanagan goes fastest with a 6-minute 37.621. What the heck? David Flanagan and Matt Shack set the exact same time. That is incredible. Looking at the results. Oh. My race control is off. It's down to a thousandth of a second. So it was a 0.620 and Matt Shack did a 0.621. That is incredible. What a result for David Flanagan. Every bit counts. As Dylan Maroney goes to P12 and Kyle Howe into P13. Eric Koonsman, I'm not sure if I have already stated, but he's in P10. But that is quite the difference for P1. And Trey Mistak, who is 1.1 seconds faster, he's winding up the hill right now. We'll see where he stands. He was P1 with a 137 even. He was 0.6 faster in practice than he is right now. Well, with his position right now, he's in P3 with a 6:38.1. So we can see some speed out of this driver. Maybe he did put on a banker lap. Maybe he did lift off in certain areas. I'm thinking that's all possible because setting a time on the board is more crucial than pushing outright for your first one. But Matt Shack, we saw him push, and he went straight into P1 and went into the pits. So maybe something can happen here. Garrett Augustin is down the long straightaway, and we'll see what happens here. Oh, okay. So there have been some incidents. Kyle Howe off track. And Cooper McCoy off track. Hopefully that's their outlaps. And with this time on the board, it looks like Garrett Augustin is going to go to P13, overtaking Kyle Howe. And yeah, there he goes, P13. I'm not a fortune teller, I just look at the race control. You know, Elliott Bird not set a time on the board yet. He is another fast driver. He was in the top 10 during practice. We'll see where he can inch out here. He's predicted to do a 6:42, which would put him in the top 10 and P8. Another driver who has not set a time, looks to be mighty impressive, is Joshua Grasso, who could be on to convert to pole if he keeps up this pace. We'll tune in with his progress a later part of the track. Tyler Kernan to P15. And Patrick Gannon, driver who I am still in line to think is going to have a really impressive drive. He was on an out lap. Now he's on a push lap. We'll see if he can possibly convert to pole. He's another fast driver. Not set a time on the board just yet. As we have Eddie Layton crossing the line to take P8 with the 641.5. See where they're at. Trey Mistak crosses the line. Goes fastest with the 637.5. He is almost a full tenth separated from David Flanagan. So that's a move there. Peter Flanner crosses the line again, overtakes Jacob Simmons for P4. Matt Shack is actually back out there. He might try to go for another one. David Flanagan's on an out lap. Matt Shack is on an out lap. So they're going to have to put in one impressive drive for that last lap that they can do. Let's see where Patrick Gannon is. He's still not far enough along, but maybe Joshua Grasso is. It's a long track. And Joshua Grasso still finding his way up the mountain. Quite possible. Let's see where and Patrick Gannon is still further back from Joshua Grasso. Let's see where Bryce Bomback might be. He's finding his way up the mountain as well. Rodrigo Theory also finding his way up the mountain. Of the drivers, Rodrigo Theory, I might be saying that wrong, by the way. So don't go telling your friends to say it that way. But it's a tricky last name. He is a couple corners until he goes down that long straight and finally completes a lap. Ooh. There's the second carousel. Just behind him is Matt Shack on an out lap. Joshua Grasso it's further back, but we'll take a look at him in a few seconds' time. Just waiting for Rodrigo Theory to complete his lap, see where he stacks up. As it stands, is predicted to do a 6:41, which would put him in the top 10. We have half the grid has still not set a time on the board, and at least 5 of those drivers are not even leaving the pit lane. Only driver to have to serve a qualifying ban is Andrew Korstecki, who exceeded the penalty points from the last race on one incident that occurred. Rodrigo goes across the line, and he goes P10. Patrick Gannon is still climbing his way up. There's the second carousel for Joshua Grasso, who's now looking still pretty strong. Predicted to be under the 140s if he can still push this. Was predicted to go fastest overall, but that has slipped just slightly. I think Sector 2 is where he lost that time. Sector 1, he was very strong. Still strong. This time we'll put him in the top 5. I won't say further. Bryce Baumbach crosses the line and goes to P19. Any time on the board is better than no time on the board, as there are still going to be 10 drivers that have not set a time on the board and will be shuffled by whatever means the shuffling happens. Maybe it's iRating or when they decided to get into the server. Not really sure, because it's an official race. Does things differently, maybe. Final couple corners. Penultimate corner. And boom, Joshua Grasso crosses the line to take P6 with a 6:39.7. It's an impressive result, and we're going to have Patrick Gannon, who's still up the climb up the hill for him. I'm in the 389. We on the struggle bus. I'm going to start at the back. 389 of Gary Sack III. Awesome. Can't wait to see what you do on the track. It is definitely a struggle. I think one of the things here with the race is just going to be consistency. If you can stay out of the wall and stay out of the cars, you'll probably find yourself finishing in the top 15. I think that's going to be the case for some drivers at least. Rounding here, we'll see where Patrick Gannon's going to go. Out of all the drivers that I said were strong and showing strong pace in their predicted lap time, no one maintained that prediction except Patrick Gannon so far. He predictably on the timing sheets can go fastest overall and take P1. He's lost literally only like a tenth here on the straightaway. I mean, he's in an Audi R8. He's got no toe, and he's now just lost a tenth. So if he can manage these final corners, we could see a P1 result for Patrick Gannon. And he's had to be within track limit, stay within the track. Hopefully he did. Patrick Gannon goes across the line with a 6:36.4. What a drive for him. Trey Mistak is in the first carousel here. Second carousel, sorry. So we'll see if he can go faster. I'm not sure what his pace looks like at the moment. It's not going to show up, but what a drive for Patrick Gannon. Takes P1, and he's separated by 1.1 seconds to P2. David Flanagan's still out there. Maybe he can make something happen. Matt Shack is on a push lap. He's climbing the mountain, and he's half a second faster right now, which would put him still not fast enough. He needs to gain a full 1.2 seconds to P1 if he wants to take the top step at the moment. Jacob Simmons crossed the line to take P5. Chris Stewart across the line a little bit ago, and he goes faster. He was in the teens. Now he's P9. Justin Scott still in P10. Elliot Burton, who parked it, he is in P12. We have Eric Coons, Rodrigo Theory is in P13. And we'll get back to someone who's actually on the track here. Nicholas Mazza, who's not set a time on the board. We're going to hop ahead. David Flanagan, who's sitting in P3. He's 3/10 up on his time. But like I stated, any driver in that's not P1 is over 1.2 seconds back, or even 1.5 seconds back. So they're really going to have to find even more margins here. Matt Shack is now a full second faster. We'll see where he's at. That's Kyle Howe, Chris Lambeth, and they're both on out laps. Hopefully they're going to be able to get a lap in. David Flanagan is the driver to be looking at here. He's in P3 and he's up half a second. Matt Scheck found a full second. Going by the sheets here, he is just behind David Flanagan. 11 seconds, 11.4 seconds back. So through the second carousel, David Flanagan goes down the long straight in the BMW M4. How drastic is that going to be for him? I will say that the cut from what happened with Patrick Gannon is once he got on the straight here, you could see his predicted time going up, but just marginally. He only lost about a tenth on the straightaway, almost 2/10. So not that big of a difference. As it stands, David Flanagan still, he's actually gaining. He gained a little bit of time so far. He's 7/10 faster than his last lap. That's still not going to be enough, but it's still going to maybe make up for P2 over Matt Shack. He's got Matt Shack right behind him, who's going equally as fast. They're separated by nothing. Their best lap was a thousandth of a second difference. David Flanagan rounds the final corner. He goes to P2 already, but there is, that's Trey Mistak, but Matt Shack crossing the line. He's 8/10 faster. Where can he shape up with his lap? He's crossed the line. He goes to P2, overtaking David Flanagan for that position. Trey Mistak is a driver who's in Sector 1 still, arguably in Sector 1. He's got to find some time. He was P1 in practice, and he's sitting in P4. Where can we see a driver? This is Noah Hodgkinson, who is about, he's, rounding a couple more quarters into the carousel, the second carousel. So we'll see where he shapes up. He's 2 seconds faster on this lap, which would be a mighty impressive lap to complete here. We only have 4 drivers, it looks like, on the that are attempting a lap at the moment. Qualifying is ending. I'm almost certain of that. It has ended. Flag is out. So this is just for these 4 drivers who are giving it a go to see what can happen here. And it seems rather lonely and slow, but this driver is pushing flat out on this long straight. This lap could put Noah Hodgkinson into P5. Just got to keep it together. It's P9 at the moment. Into the final corner he goes, crossing the line. He goes to P6, just behind. And we have 3 positions gained for Noah Hodgkinson. An incredible result. He did a 6:38.2. Him and Nicholas Mazza are going to have some match in the race here because they are separated by 1/10. So impressive result for Noah Hodgkinson as Trey Mistak is still on track. We got 1 driver behind him of Chris Lambeth trying to set a time on the board. So out of the 1 second. Out of the 31 drivers that are on track, 22 have set a time. Chris Lambeth being the 23rd driver who's trying to set a time. You don't want to be a driver that didn't set a time. It's going to be just shuffled in, and I'm not sure how the shuffle goes. I don't know if it's on iRating. It should be if it's kind of following the official series as he's going through the second carousel there. We should see his result shortly. Trey Mistack is 1.5 seconds up on his time. I don't want to jinx the driver. He's on an impressive run. If he can hold this together through the final straight, through those couple windy bits, we'll see him possibly on the top step. Who knows? Patrick Gannon did an impressive run, put it on the podium step, and just went into the pits. I believe that was his only lap. It says he did 3, but he must have invalidated one of those laps. It didn't register him in the top 10. See, it didn't register that he had a valid lap, I should say. Maybe he did. Trey Mistack is faster. It puts him back into P1. Trey Mistack crosses the line. Wow. All right. Looking at Chris Lambeth, the last driver on track. See where he puts it. Trey Mistack crossing the line to do a 636.090. He's 0.3 up on Patrick Gannon's lap. So we have a battle of the aliens at the top 5 who set impressive laps, all in the 636 range. Just behind, we have drivers in the 638 range from P5 to P8, and then the times kind of shift a little bit from there. So we won't know. Some of these drivers are going to be impressive in the race. They didn't set a time, but we'll see what the race pace looks like. Yeah, wide range of times in the back part of the field. I'd be one of those times. I'd probably be in the almost 7-minute range. Every time I go to this track, I find myself wondering why I even try to do this track. I can never remember all the corners. 154 turns, by the way. Chris Lambeth's last drive across the line, he goes to P16 with a 645.8. And that is qualifying. We are about to start this race. Going off the grid order here, it looks like it's shaking up, and Andrew Korostecki is going to take P25, which is just trying to see where the shakeup happens here. Trey Mistack in P1, Patrick Gannon P2, Matt Shack P3, David Flanagan P4, Nicholas Mazza in P5, Noah Hodgkinson in P6, Jacob Simmons in P7, Peter Flanders in P8, Joshua Grasso in P9, Chris Stewart in P10, Justin Scott in 11, Eddie Layton in 12, Elliot Burton in 13, Rodrigo Theory in 14, Jeff Koffold in 15, Chris Lambeth in 16. And just a second, gonna start that back off. Chris Lambeth in 16, Eric Koonsman in 17, Eric Rodriguez in 18, Dylan Maroney in 19, Tyler Kernan in 20, Garrett Augustin in 21, Kyle Howe in 22, Bryce Bombach in 23, Eric Mack in 24, Andrew Korostecki in 25, Nick Blair in 26, Cooper McCoy in 27, Austin McGill in 28, Parker Humes in 29, Steve McAllister in 30, and Gary Shack the third in 31. Good luck, Gary. You're still listening. Good luck. It's going to be a race of attrition, and who can keep their car between the white lines. it will be very interesting to see what happens here with Trey Mistack, Patrick Gannon, the top five. And as things kind of fall into order, we'll definitely take a look, see where some of these drivers are at. Garrett Augustin is directly in the towards the middle of the scrap, so positive negatives can happen at the start of this race. Hope for more positives, no carnage, and we'll take a look at some of the crashes as they occur or in replay. And we are underway. Be an interesting start. We'll see how the trigger is pulled by Trey Mistack once the safety car goes in. Very tight corner to turn one. Well, everyone is very respectful through that. Speeding up. You'll want to get going. And there he goes. He's firing off quickly. And he is through just fine as we have more drivers going through. Everything looks clean. So far, so good. We have two drivers side by side. Rodrigo Theory. And that was Chris Lambeth. Everything holding true. Everything clean. Further back in the field. Still good. And look at that. Andrew Korstecki. Ooh, it's still clean. Two drivers off the track there. Andrew. Oh. Okay. What? Okay, sorry. I'm not sure what happened there. Just lost camera control. Back onto the start of the top of the lineup here. We have Trey Mistack still in P1, Patrick Gannon in P2, Matt Shack in P3, David Flanagan in P4, Nicholas Mazza in P5, Noah Hodgkinson in 6, Jacob Simmons in 7. No change out of the top 8 so far. Chris Stewart is up 1 position at the start of this race. Joshua Grosso down 1 position at the start of this race. Eddie Layton in behind there. He is up 1 position. Justin Scott down 1 position. Elliot Burton has not moved from P13 at the start of this race. Look at that snake. Everybody's just finding a little bit of room here. We'll see shortly. We have Andrew Korstecki and Garrett Augustin fighting for P20 at the moment. Ooh. A little bit of curbing there for Andrew Korstecki. Oh! And he is off. And so down the order he's going to go and pick that back up. Say up a bunch of positions. Al Howe hasn't moved positions at the start of this race. Was P22. Just ahead of him is Cooper McCoy in that teal Porsche. He is up 6 positions. Parker Humes behind is also up 6 positions. Gary Shack, the third, in P24 with 7 positions gained. Joshua Grasso is in the pits. Completely lost out on that one. Got to go root for the top 3. It's going to be Gannon. Top 3 have kind of changed pace. Oh, going on to Elliott Burton. He's in P14. He's battling with Chris Lambeth for 13. He's down one position, so it looks like he has lost out to Chris Lambeth, but he is glued to Chris Lambeth. Maybe he can retake that position. And Gary Shack with an incident goes down one position, two positions so far. Hopefully he can recover. On to Noah Hodgkinson, who is 1/10 separated from Nicholas Massa. Just ahead, and Jacob Simmons also joining suit, as well as Peter Flanner. The pace of all these drivers actually is really impressive. They're all just really close together. That's P4 of David Flanagan all the way back to Chris Stewart in P10. And still no change out of the top 8 so far. They've all ran really close together, but no passing thus far. Chris Stewart, the only driver in P9 at the moment, he's up one position, and P10 behind him is actually kind of far back. It's a 4.5 second gap already formed from the top 10, or from the top 9, I should say. And going further back, I'm going to click onto this, but this is Joshua Grosso, who was in the top 10. Something happened to him. Ooh, just spins. And that's it. He just called it off of that one. Completely understandable. We have Bryce Bomback, who was in P23, and he loses the rear and into the wall. And Cooper McCoy, who was pretty strong. Ooh, looks like he gets a lot of that curbing in under the grass, and yikes. And just spins it out there. Back on board, we have Andrew Korostecki, who is P23 at the moment, battling for P22 against Garrett Gustin. What's up several positions? Ooh, he goes through. Garrett off the track. Maybe losing a little bit of control of his car there, but there goes through Andrew Korostecki as he's going to try to make his way through the pack. Chris Lambeth. That's Elliott Burton. Something happened to this driver. I thought he was... Oh, it was Chris Stewart I was thinking of. Oh. Chris Lambeth has Elliott Burton behind him here, this silver, black, and pink, purple Porsche on the straightaway. We usually see a pass here. Rodrigo Theory. No change. Just got word from Garrett's pit crew. He turned his car on and off mid-race, but he's still good. There you go. Hopefully he can keep it together. No change out of these drivers through that straightaway. You think something would have happened there. Trey Mistack still holding out P1. Patrick Gannon in P2. No change from the drivers. It could be the race control, but it said that these two drivers swapped positions for about a second. But being about half a second off of each other, I don't see how that would have been quite possible. Back on to Chris Lambeth. Is he going to be able to make a move off Jeff Koffold? I don't see it just there. Ooh, it was a little bit of a brake check, but everyone slowed down a little bit more than usual, it looked like. Where's the pass going to happen? Oh, we're going to jump on board of Parker Humes. He's... Oh, man. I switch away for a second, and Chris Lambeth overtakes Jeff Koffold. Now we just gotta wait and see, is Rodrigo Theory going to make a move? Elliot Burton had an off track. We'll take a look at that right here. Able to save it, though. He lost a couple positions there. He was higher up, so I don't think that played into the change there. But he's behind Eric Rodriguez now. He's going to have to claw some of those positions back. He's down 3 positions off of that mistake. Oh. Noah Hodgkinson has crashed. Through goes Jacob Simmons. We'll take a look and see what happened there. It's like rear end. Hopefully he's able to save that and put it back in. That's a 3-point turn there. He's down into P17. Was on to do a real fast time there. All right, he was just a bit of a blur, but he was looking to have a really good run at that, solidifying himself in the top 10 for a race finish. He's gonna have to claw that back. It's unfortunate for him, and he didn't hear that wrong. We have a couple of incidents that occurred. We got Eric Rodriguez. Ooh. It's in the rear. Not that bad. Not that bad at all. Only losing a position. So I think, yeah, P15. Still up 3 positions at the start of this race, if he wants to call it that way. There's Noah Hodgkinson, who was overtaking Dylan Maroney for P16. Noah's got strong pace. We're going to see him claw back a few more positions. There's no doubt about that. But from P6 to P16, that's a rough start. But he's got a couple more laps to... a lot more than a couple laps to bring it back. Back on to Patrick Gannon, who's only 4/10 back from Trey Mistack. They go fast. They definitely do. The rears step out. It's not great. Province. That's a crash for Gary Shack, the third. Wrecked myself, towed, waited, pitted out, and my wheel came off my desk in turn 3. Yikes. Comes off your desk. You're going to have to get some bigger straps. I got to fire the cameraman for this angle. Get some bigger straps, smack the straps, and then say, this ain't going anywhere. And then maybe, just maybe, it will stay in that spot for next one. So we have Tyler Kern, Patrick Humes. Patrick Humes overtaking that driver. Noah Hodgkinson is already on the back of Eric Rodriguez in the blue and green Porsche. Oh, man. Even at this angle, just rough. You think they would trim the hedges on that tree. I think this might be a little fun adventure for Noah. He's got to claw back a lot of time to all the drivers ahead of him. Right now, Elliot Burton is 5.7 seconds ahead of Eric Rodriguez and Noah Hodgkinson. We're going to see possibly a pass here shortly. And if we do see that, it's 5 seconds to have to inch away from Elliot Burton. On the last lap, Noah Hodgkinson did it a 6:44.5 and Elliot Burton did a 6:55.7. So on pace alone from the last lap, we could see Noah Hodgkinson get a couple more overtakes before he even finishes the lap. What am I saying? He's at the top of the hill. Through through this carousel. A couple more corners to the start straight, and looks like someone crashed. There's that overtake even before the straight. What a move. Patrick Gannon What can he do here? Saul fast bits. Oh, that was just the end of the start. End of that long straight. I doubt he's gonna have another opportunity to overtake Trey Mistack here. Not yet. Maybe it's gonna be a pit stop maneuver. Yeah, you forgot the magic words. This ain't going anywhere. Happens to the best of us. Back we have Andrew Korostecki and Dylan Maroney. Ooh. Oh! Oh! What was... I don't even know what to say. I think they both were going pretty fast. Gonna hit that back. Dylan Maroney's definitely ahead. Ooh, he tries to slow down. He's at so much speed going through that corner. And, yep, there's both of them pitting. Patrick Gannon now. Where is he? He's been overtaken by Matt Shack. P2, P2. And that happened in Sector 1. And the gaps that have formed. So we've had a change in the lineup. I said the top 8 have not changed positions. Patrick Gannon down 1 position. Jacob Simmons is in P6 and he's gotten one up, so he's started P7 in P6. Peter Flanders just behind, half a second off. These two drivers are equal in pace. There's no doubt about that. We'll see them be, kind of neck and neck for the remainder of this race as they are approaching P6 or P5, I should say. But back behind him is Chris Stewart, who's 2.7 seconds back in P8. He's got a 6-second gap. Trey Mistack's still P1. Matt Shack now half a tenth away from 1/10 away from him. Half a tenth. And we'll pop on board with Elliott Burton, who looks like might have a go. Here we have Jeff Koffold in the black Ferrari, and also Rodrigo Theory in that red Ferrari. I'm just going to go with that. There's other colors there. With the Puerto Rican flag almost, I think is what that is, but I'm not quite sure. I can't make it. It's in the middle. Doesn't have a look to the inside here. And a little bit of a difference in pace there. As they exit that corner, now they're going to be going side by side. Is he going to follow through? Is he going to be able to make a pass here? It looks like, yes, he is. There goes through Elliott Burton. Not one to give it up. Rodrigo Theory coming back at him. They lost a little bit of time, Jeff, but I think they can get that back. And it might be when they get to the straight. Who knows? And it looks like Elliott Burton might have to defend just a little bit. Ooh, that's an interesting line that Rodrigo took there. And he's backed off significantly. I mean, Peter Flanner and Jacob Simmons, P6 and 7. Peter Flanner gets ahead of Jacob Simmons. Up 2 positions for this driver. David Flanagan is really close. Patrick Gannon. Quite a difference in pace. Oh, man. This corner again. kind of deceiving. Is race control is saying that they're way closer than they really are. They're 2/10 off, 3/10 off at the moment. They've still got a little bit of ways to go before they're the final carousel. And Elliot Burton passed Rodrigo and is now past Jeff Koffold. That is P12 for him. It's actually kind of a recovery race in a bit because Elliot Burton started P13. I think he went off at one point and now it's just falling back positions. And David Flanagan, not closer than previously, but it looks to be that way. All these drivers are going down the straight. I think he's kind of getting a... I mean, that toe is strong, but is it strong enough? It doesn't really look like he's gaining too much here. Now it does. I mean, he's reeled them in, but right at the end of the straight, I don't know if we'll see him do anything here. Definitely not. As this stream is really testing the limits of my CPU capacity. And Jacob Simmons, also another driver that wasn't able to make a move here, but look at this. Battle in the midfield. I didn't say midfield, top 15. Both those drivers giving respect. Rodrigo Theory goes through into P13 over Jeff. And the driver dynamic shifted. Jeff Koffold was ahead of both these drivers. And the pace difference of these drivers is only now it's just 1.5 seconds for Jeff Koffold on his last. Oh. Trey Mistack is in P5 at the moment. Yikes. We'll take a look at this. He's leading the charge here in that tractor. Oh! What angle is that? Let's try that again. Ooh! Just the entry. Just looks slightly off there, and look at that in the background. Peter Flanner and gets ahead of Jacob Simmons in that moment there. Was ahead of him, but they were side by side in the carousel. Looked like Jacob Simmons tried to go for an end around there, but now they are back kind of right up on there on Trey Mistack, who a little bit of an incident. Like I said, consistency is key here. Elliot Burton and Rodrigo Theory go side by side, and Rodrigo Theory goes through. And what an impressive drive from all three of these drivers who have literally passed each other lap after lap. Elliot Burton, thinking he got the best of all three of them, was ahead. Now it's just been passed by Rodrigo Theory in what is Sector 1 still. So no short of battles happening on track. What a move. Oh! Yikes! And down goes Burton into the wall. He'll try to... Now he's going to let that little scrape happen. He's down 2 positions into P15. Lost out. Noah Hodgkinson was able to go ahead, put in the screws to Jeff Koffold shortly. More than likely, we'll see that. Elliot Burton I think, had an incident earlier on. I'm almost positive he did. Yes, he did. He had an off track. A bunch of drivers went by. He had a concede position. He went back 3 or 4 positions, and now he gets ahead of all those drivers again, and now is having contend with another mistake. Hopefully, it looks like his wheel is fine. No significant damage there. Looks like everything's smooth. The inputs, at least. We'll see what he can do there. Unfortunate for him. And there goes Noah Hodgkinson on Jeff Hoffold. Said it was going to happen, and it did. Didn't quite catch it in the act, just on the end result there. Impressive move for Noah. In the Beans BMW of Jacob Simmons, I'm always curious to watch. He's always got a really interesting livery. Trey Misek opts for the outside line and loses 2 positions to both Peter Flanner and Jacob Simmons. I'm kind of curious about that. What does his input look like? Doesn't look like he's having any balance issues. Maybe just being cautious after what happened when he dipped into the carousel on that last lap. And the cameraman for that angle is definitely going to get talking to after the race. Jacob Simmons, been as close to Peter Flanner lap after lap. The pace is the same. Their best laps were actually for Peter Flanner was in the last lap. Jacob Simmons, his best time was a 7/10 difference from his last lap. He's gonna have to find somewhere in the track to gain some confidence, because Peter Flanner at the moment is just going to stay out in front on pace and not really have to worry. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, that's the only opportunity I can see Jacob Simmons getting by at this moment. And look at that. Trey Misek takes the carousel this go-around. He opts not to take the other carousel, the first carousel. I wonder why that is. Now here's what the Mercedes-AMG ahead and Peter Flanner can do in the BMW M4 of Jacob Simmons, who are on board with. Who's going to have the speed advantage on the straight? It looks like it's... Ooh, he gives him a little bump! That's kind of nice. This is a NASCAR, but I think that was a little love tap. A little nudge. But no move is made for Jacob Simmons. Impressive feat. And they both go into the pit lane. All 3 of them go in the pit lane. We're going to see a stack up. Who's going to shake out? Right now, Patrick Gannon is in the lead in P1, but they're all in the pits. Who's out first? Is it Matt Shack? There's Trey Mistek finally getting to the pit lane. Who's out first? Oh, it looks like they're side by side, and that is actually Matt Shack, who definitely won in the clipping. And there's Patrick Gannon into P2. And Nicholas Massa comes out into P3. David Flanagan out in P4. Jacob Simmons in P5, overtaking Peter Flanner in the pit lane. Trey Mistek is now right along with them into P7. This is going to be a battle of the aliens from P1 to 7. The consistency out of these drivers is insane. I would count Trey Mistek's thing with the carousel a fluke. Maybe the card. I mean, it was just like the entry just looked a little off, and that's what spun him around. Chris Stewart is behind, 4.2 seconds back in P8. Eddie Layton is in P9. He's up 3 positions at the start of this race. Justin Scott behind in P10. 1 position up gain for him. Chris Lambert has Noah Hodgkinson in P12. They're going to be fighting shortly, more than likely. I don't know if he took tires. It's possible they took tires. I don't think it's quite worth it with the lap, like the amount of laps that they're having to do. But maybe I'm wrong. And it looks like every driver has gone in to the pit lane except Kyle Howe and Garrett Augustin. And if the move is on, I feel like it's going to be soon. Noah Hoskinson down 6 positions at the start of this race in P12, but he looks like he might gain one off of Chris Lambeth. He's reeled him in. He's reeled in a lot of drivers. And I'll tell you, the pace difference right now of these two drivers in the last lap was massive. And by massive, I mean 4 seconds. That's a lot of time gained throughout this entire track. Chris Lambert did a 6:46 even, and Noah Hodgkinson did a 6:42.5. So there are going to be some corners Noah's going to be a little bit more confident in going through and maybe make the move off of Chris Lambert here. Only 3 retirees from this race so far. And there it goes. Noah Hoskins through. Noah Hoskinson. I don't feel like I pronounced that correctly on the first go there, but gives him a little flash. Probably to say, you know, it's all good. Great move. And Jacob Simmons, who... I mean, what a result for him and Peter Flanner. Just how they were racing each other. I said it wasn't going to happen on pace because the pace alone for Peter Flanner was there. But in the pit stop, Jacob Simmons was able to get out there quicker, get ahead of him. And look at this. David Flanagan's now having to worry for his position, P4. Who's on his pit team? Somebody's on his pit team. Somebody, maybe the Red Bull squad's on his pit team. They are the fastest. Actually, arguably, McLaren's getting there as well. I think the only 2 disciplined groups on the F1 circuit. No move is on just yet for Jacob Simmons. On David Flanagan ahead. And look at that. They all seem to have it good and through. Tyler Kern just lose position to Parker Humes. And got back on board with Trey Mistak, who's was P1 in this race. Yeah, that's where I would agree with you there. I don't think he took tires. He probably took a bit less fuel than everyone. I think that's it. Again, this cameraman is getting pay deduction on that one. Just less fuel. Depends on how much he started with. I think it is going to be a all on fuel, whether or not he can lift and coast to save some fuel as well. I think that will be the deciding factor there. Some of these drivers, if some of them have been already lifting and coasting to save time. Ooh, look at that. Peter Flanner off into the grass. And look at that. Trey Mistak is really on the attack now. He gave him an inch, and so not he's going to take it from him now. I mean, he lost the opportunity a little bit because the mistake is done and over, and he's still ahead. As the second carousel let go. And I think Trey Mistak now fully confident in the carousels again. And we'll ride on board through the straightaway. Is he going to reel him in? The McLaren MP4, some stated it was a tractor, but it was a tractor that was successful in its run. It was fast last race. It scored good points. He's crawling towards him, but I think it's too late. Maybe not. I mean, the overpass is right there. Oh, he's going for it. And they are about to go side by side. And through goes Trey Mistak, sorry. Been seeing Elliot Burton pass so many people, I just can't get his name out of my head. Man, what a move for Trey Mistak. Takes P6 from Peter Flanner. And we'll go forward in the lineup here. We have Matt Shack up 2.6 seconds on Patrick Gannon. The pace difference was about 1.1 seconds on last lap. Nicholas Mazza in P3, he's got a 5.4 second gap to Patrick Gannon and 3.7 behind, with David Flanagan, who's got a half second to Jacob Simmons behind him, and Trey Mistak about a 1.2 second gap to Jacob Simmons. And Peter Flanner behind. I don't think Trey Mistak's going to shake him, but I don't think he has to worry about him at this moment. They got a little bit of a gap, half a second. Spring reeled in. Noah Hoskinson going side by side with Justin Scott for position for P10 as they go up and over. Justin Scott still ahead. And positioning his car a little bit defensive, Justin Scott was, but it's all fair racing. Looks like he's still on the defensive. He knows Noah is right there, trying to make it happen. Definitely not through the fast, windy bits here. But he is stuck on the back of his bumper. Very confident, knowing where to brake in relation to the driver ahead of him. And just ahead is Eddie Layton. Oh no. Something happened in the top 5, and we will get to it in just a second. I'm hoping we can see Noah Hodgkinson make this move. It looked like the move was on. It looked like he was on the attack. It's just not shaping up just the moment for this to happen. Goes off into the grass a little bit. It's not going to help your chances there, but here we go. We've seen some overtakes through the next couple of corners. Is Noah Hodgkinson going to be able to one of those drivers that makes an overtake as well? I think he's just not backed off, but just lost a little bit of time there to him. And we're seeing Justin Scott, after that defensive move, still just keeping it up ahead of him. Not having to worry too much at the moment. And Patrick Gannon is in P1. Take a look at that there. Drop on board with Matt Shack, who was in P1. And the rear's gone. And through goes. And he loses it and brings it to the pits. Patrick Gannon now inherits the lead of this race off the rear end going for Matt Shack there. That's unfortunate. You hate to see it. Ugh. We have now Nicholas Massa into P2, David Flanagan in P3, just Jacob Simmons in P4, Trey Mistak in P5. And then behind is Peter Flanner, and there's a bigger gap that's formed there between Peter Flanner and Trey Mistak. We'll hop towards Noah Hoskinson, who quite possibly be one of the only drivers who might have a chance at making an overtake happen here at this moment with the spread of the field as it is. The way he was so smooth out of the pit, I thought, man's took tires. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that what you were witnessing is an alien. And I would say anyone in the top 7, just on sheer pace alone, what they were putting in lap after lap in the 6:38 range of laps, aliens. Just aliens. I mean, Nicholas Mazza's best lap is a 6:37.7. No other drivers have been doing stuff like that. We have Trey Mistak, who's gone ahead of Jacob. Ooh. Oh, he's got probably a slowdown penalty. It doesn't show him going off track on the race control, but Jacob Simmons just lost 2 positions, and he slowed down significantly. So I'm gonna guess that was probably it. Trey Mistak is now P4. He can see P1 from here. And is something going to happen here where Jacob Simmons... I don't think he's going to reel him in quick enough. But I was wrong a couple other times, as I've said that before, on some of these drivers. Maybe can get alongside him. He's going. Oh, he looks to want to go for it, but he retains it and just follows suit. Now is this where Noah Hoskinson and Chris Lambeth and Noah Hoskinson are battling out, and Chris Lambeth goes side by side, and he goes through almost. It looks like he's through. He is through, but he's gonna have to convert this, and he gets ahead of him. Gets in. Looks like Noah might try to battle him out there. No. Noah Hoskinson loses a position. Oh. That was a little slow, and I think we're going to see a battle happen for these drivers as I think might be on the final lap. Can't quite tell. Order Peter Jacob Simmons, who's I don't think he's not quite there yet, but Noah Hoskinson is. He has passed Chris Lambeth before. Maybe we'll see a move happen here. So Rodrigo Theory in P12 is up 2 positions at the start of this race. Chris Lambeth is one of those drivers to really look at. He's up 6 positions from where he started on the grid. He's had a really great race result so far. And Justin Scott, I think he's got to worry about what's happening here. He's got Chris Lambeth barreling at him, as well as Noah Hoskinson, who's not let up. The attack is on for both drivers. And there goes Noah Hoskinson, who tried to make a move down the inside, getting on the curbing. Didn't really compromise himself too much, though, as he's not lost a lot of time on the exit to Chris Lambeth here. Couple drivers had some incidents. Garrett Augustin, who's in P19, might be able to maintain his position, though, as he's back on track. Nothing's changed for that driver. Oh, Noah Hoskinson losing a little bit of time here. I think he's lost a bit of time in Sector 1, but he regains it into Sector 2 and 3 off these drivers. But who's on the advantage now is... Ooh, look at that. Noah Hoskinson, almost all fours. It is all fours. He is off the track. Race control confirms it. It's going to be an invalid lap for him. Not that it matters. It's going to slow him down. And what looked like the attack for Chris Lambert, he's lost a little bit of time. And now Noah Hoskinson is kind of like an accordion effect. These drivers are just coming together and falling apart, and coming together and falling apart. And I switched over to David Flanagan because it looked like he was a little bit closer, but now it's still back to Noah Hoskinson, who's basically stealing the remainder of this race, because he's been putting on a clinic on how to pass people after being dropped down 10 positions off of a mistake. He's only lost 5 positions now as he's in P11. And David Flanagan, who's now 3/10 away from Nicholas Mazza for P2. Jump on board. And it's unfortunate. This angle doesn't really show what's happening with the inputs of this BMW, but... And it's got this weird placard for the number scheme. Show his position. But, not a good angle for the BMW. Not a good angle at all. And Andrew Korostecki is in P20. He's up 5 positions at the start of this race. Look at that, is Kyle Howe behind. He's missing his entire front bodywork there. That's what we call a downforce loss. But he's still out there in P21. And Noah Hoskinson now close again. Closer than he's been previously. 2-second gap. Or 2/10. 1/10. The gap is almost a rear bumper at this point. They've all caught up to Justin Scott. And like I said, the strength that we've seen on Noah Hoskinson is Sector 2 and Sector 3. He really pulls close. The accordion effect in Sector 1 is that he was getting close and he was losing sometimes. He goes off into the grass there, but not fully off track. Can we see a move from this driver as we are about to go towards that long straight? And he's got to feel like he has it down. He's got pace. Last lap, not so great for him because of the off track. But I think on this one, he's looking pretty strong. On par with Chris Lambert. I think they're going to have just a 2/10 difference. And this is the last lap. The race has ended for some of these drivers. I did not cover that, but we're still looking at a potential difference for these two drivers in P10 and 11. Really goes for it, but that's not going to be enough. Are they going to go side by side into the final one? He overtakes him! And Noah Hoskinson takes P10 away from Chris Lambeth. And now we have Jeff going through. While we are looking at these drivers, I'll show you the results. We have Patrick Gannon, who takes P1, Nicholas Mazza in P2, David Flanagan in P3, Trey Mistack P4, Peter Flanner in P5, Jacob Simmons in P6, Chris Stewart in P7, Eddie Layton in P8, Justin Scott in P9, Noah Hoskins in P10, Chris Lambert P11, Rodrigo Theory in P12, Elliot Burton in P13, Jeff Koffold in P14, Eric Mack in 15, Eric Rodriguez, who's going to be crossing line and taking P16 right there. And then we have Parker Humes, who's up 10 positions at the start of this race. He's going to finish P17 if he holds it together to the final section, final two corners, I should say. And Tyler Kern, up 2 positions at the start of this race. He's going to finish P18. Garrett Augustin, up 2 positions off the start of this race. He's going to finish P19. Just got a couple more corners to contend with. And Andrew Korostecki, who was suffering a race ban, or no, a qualifying ban, I should say, for this race. Started P25 without setting a time on the board and is now up to P20. He also had a couple incidents, able to get back onto the racetrack and put in a good result for him. That's going to be P20 for him. Kyle Howe, another driver who's almost done with this race. Missing some body work, but does not give up. That is going to be P21 for him. Bryce Bombach in P22. As he's got a little bit of ways to go. And that's Dylan Maroney in P23, Matt Shack in P24, Eric Koonsman in P25, Gary Sack III in P26, Cooper McCoy in P27, Joshua Grasso in P28. That was quite the race. Thank you for joining us. So we have round 4 next week. Same time. Qualifying does start at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. And the stream will start about 10 minutes before. Just focusing on a little bit of the practice before qualifying starts. And that is Bryce Bombach across the line. And it is all over. Thank you for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. And if you like to see these races, just don't forget to just give us a follow. We appreciate it. Have a good evening. Take care.